Welcome to Movie Addiction. Today, I will explain a film called Killer Weekend. Kimberly is a youthful and appealing young lady who carries on with a rich way of life because of a dating application with men. She realizes that Hal will generally be a kept lady and comprehends that even a normal selfie has an immense effect in this. Having met with a partner looking for rich men, Kimberly noticed that young lady costs precisely however much the most parsimonious client will pay her. After discovering that there is a new application called Daddies and Butterflies, Kimberly chooses to pursue it to find new men who will pay for the time spent with her. Ted likewise values current innovation since this is a sort of upset in the universe of dating. Beforehand, he needed to leaf through his dad's grown-up magazines, yet presently all that you really want can be effortlessly tracked down on the web. At night, Kimberly meets with a darling 2 times her age and clues that it would be good to get her a fresh out-of-the-box new iPhone before the date. Ted likewise goes out on the town and is prepared to give cash liberally to a young lady in a troublesome monetary circumstance. They know completely well why they met in a bistro, and both are sitting tight for its legitimate continuation. After getting back to Paul, Kimberly is really glad with her new buy. She is burnt out on a rich man and needs to get freed of him, yet first she should fulfill him to say thanks to him for a liberal gift. In the interim, Ted and his better half Lesso went to a peaceful spot for a short-term outing. Sooner or later man left, and young lady chose to search for one more container of wine in the storage compartment. Opening the vehicle, she was scared by the finds since there were a blade and gloves. Lesso attempted to utilize the blade justifiably, yet Ted was more grounded and had the option to end her life. In the wake of having intercourse to Paul once and for all, Kimberly went into the kitchen to get 2 or 3 glasses. Utilizing inorganic mercury, which is essential for the batteries, young lady blended it into wine and gave it to the man, because of which she went to a different universe. On one occasion she figured out that protection can be gotten for a not your individual spouse, and from that second, she started to procure from it. Meeting with well-off men, Kimberly takes everything from them, after which she harms also, sends them to the following scene. In the event that she didn't have this work and a strong pay, she might have turned into a scientific expert, yet in science, they don't pay that sort of cash. Subsequent to getting free of Paul, Kimberly leaves for her home. The following morning, she meets Ted on the site and couple trade likes. In the wake of meeting up with her companion Annie, Kimberly goes to a dress store to update her closet. She advises young lady how to oversee men and take cash from them appropriately. Annie is respectable and such techniques appear to be revolting to her, since she would rather not hit the sack for benefit. Kimberly chooses to demonstrate the value of her strategy for bringing in cash and gets some information about her pay. It ended up being a few times lower and, after a little thought, the sales rep inquired young lady for the name of a dating site, to likewise enroll there and begin bringing in cash. Somewhat later, Kimberly goes on her most memorable date with Ted. Sooner or later, she passes on to answer the telephone. Criminal investigator reports that Paul has nodded off always and requests to meet, as the need might arise to talk. In the interim, Ted meets a server who transparently plays with him and recommends they meet up at some point. He would in any case stay with her, yet he came out on the town and can't leave Kimberly. Before long young lady returns and honestly doesn't sparkle with her brain, yet she doesn't require it in light of the fact that she has a delightful face and body. The following morning, Kimberly meets with criminal investigator who inquires for a couple of inquiries according to method. After cop shows young lady Paul's goodbye note, in which he admits his sentiments to his escort and requests that nobody fault for what occurred, since he, when all is said and done, ended his own life. Nearer to supper, Kimberly meets with a specialist who helps her carry on with a typical life. Dr. Harris inquires as to whether she is taking a narcotic. She read on the web that he made side impacts and quit taking the medicine. Psychotherapist prompts young lady to peruse less rubbish and not reject the calming he recommended for her. Understanding that it is smarter to examine every one of the issues and not keep it in herself, Kimberly discusses how her stepfather treated her horrendously and her mom safeguarded him, not supporting her little girl. To build her capital, young lady began a monetary partner. She provides him with 33% of the pay. What's more, has intercourse so as not to stress over additional profit. Fred isn't just a monetary virtuoso, yet in addition a man who sells protection. He effectively takes the insurance contract from the clients that Kimberly chose to dispose of, which assists with earning substantial sums of money. Subsequent to talking about the matter, Fred gets some information about the chance of making a relationship. Yet, young lady is completely set up, since this is a business and nothing other than. Ted is better in bed, and it's a horrible idea to analyze them. This affronts Fred and he encounters sensations of desire, however chooses not to think about it. He is considerably more inspired by how Kimberly had the option to get Paul to compose a self-destruction note. As it ended up, young lady proposed to compose letters to one another on the off chance that they were in paradise. From the start, rich man could have done without this thought, yet she was extremely annoyed by him and Paul understood that it was more straightforward to consent to every one of young lady's necessities. At night, Kimberly meets with Ted and couple go on a cookout in the forest. Eventually, man goes to his vehicle to open the trunk, where he has gloves and a blade. At that point, an officer showed up on grass, demolishing Ted's plans. He discussed the way that a wrongdoing had as of late occurred here and young lady's body was found, so they should be more cautious. Panicked, Kimberly requests to be brought back home. Ted is incensed that he was unable to end young lady's life. He cruises all over the area looking for a new casualty and notification a forlorn young lady. Nancy fantasies about being a well-known entertainer and Ted lies that he is a maker who can assist her with this. In the first part of the day, analyst tracks down Nancy's body on something very similar yard where Lisa was found 7 days prior and understands that a chronic executioner has ended up in the city. Kimberly discovers that her neighbor, who lives on the following road, has been passed on and she is very terrified. Afterward, she meets with Fred, who asks again inquiries about whether he can be better than Ted. Reality enormously insults a man in light of the fact that Kimberly leaned towards a more experienced darling. Calling to Ted, young lady enlightens him regarding what has been going on with Nancy. Man comprehends that he can no more let completely go and should be more cautious in picking a casualty. At night, couple meet at Ted's home and cheerfully invest energy. Man concedes that he used to get a kick out of the chance to drink, but since of liver issues he tracked down another leisure activity. Kimberly imagines that it is tied in with dating with little kids. What's more, doesn't think that Ted enjoys something else altogether as a top priority. In the first part of the day, Kimberly gets ready breakfast and adds noxious mushrooms to the man's piece. At night, Ted turns out to be sick and calls an emergency vehicle. At the following meeting with a psychotherapist, Kimberly discusses how she met a decent man. The fact that it's past the point of no return makes expert proposes attempting to begin a relationship, yet young lady persuaded. Somewhat later, she meets with Fred and tells that Ted made do and disposing of him will be surprisingly troublesome. The monetary right hand questions young lady and thinks that she has become hopelessly enamored with her casualty. Kimberly denies this on the grounds that for her the association with men is a business, so not entirely set in stone to act definitively and bring them make a difference as far as possible. Fred cautions that two poisoning straight will be excessively dubious and recommends that they concoct one more method for killing Ted. At 2 or 3 meets in a bistro to examine plans for the approaching end of the week. Ted proposes they leave town, as his companion has an exquisite house where they can remain for several days. Kimberly likewise discusses meetings with a psychotherapist who recommended that she ought to begin a relationship. Young lady isn't content with this and Ted is likewise not prepared for a relationship since his side interest takes the entirety of his extra energy. Kimberly is keen on what a man does and he vows to show what he prefers the most. After their date, young lady meets with Fred and examines the arrangement to take out Ted. Monetary partner offers to showcase an attack with a theft, during which he will put a couple of slugs into a man. Fred has previously found a subtle bistro on the exit from town. What's more, discusses his arrangement. The following night, couple goes to a ranch-style home and Kimberly, terrified by Fred's thought, calls him to drop everything. This drives monetary accomplice mad since he is enamored with the young lady and is envious of her grown-up and experienced sweetheart. En route, young lady lets Ted know that she lived in destitution and would successfully give for herself. Her mom sold food stamps and burned through cash on liquor, so young lady guaranteed herself not to be a failure like her. In the first part of the day, couple goes to the closest bistro to eat. Ted asks server where his tool shop and lets Kimberly be. Here she is found by Fred, who admits his sentiments and offers her his assist altogether with disposing of Ted. At the point when Kimberly declines once more, the colleague causes a situation of desire and admits his sentiments. Young lady asks him to endlessly let her be on the grounds that she recollects the business. What's more, doesn't have any desire to lose a dependable accomplice. Kimberly realizes that business is more significant than sentiments and commitments, that at the vital second her hand won't waver. In the interim, Ted finds a home improvement shop and lies that he wants to free the deer. Furthermore, clear the obstructed lines. To do this, a man purchases a saw, a hatchet and hydrochloric corrosive. However, he wants them for something else entirely. When colleague leaves, young lady calls a psychotherapist to discuss her sentiments and encounters specialist understands that Kimberly has become hopelessly enamored and tells her so. Somewhat later, couple go on an excursion, where young lady breaks all plans of the man and concedes that she is infatuated with him. Returning, couple is momentarily isolated and Ted spots Fred. He has seen him previously. What's more, understands that Kimberly is looking for trouble. After gathering young lady, Fred recommends opening the gas burners and faking a mishap. She is anxious about the possibility that Ted will get up right on time and comprehend everything. Fred is prepared to remain in the house and actually send man to the following scene if this occurs. However, Kimberly declines his thoughts and requests to be let be. Getting back to the house, young lady blends another toxin into Ted's juice and heads to sleep. Around evening time, Fred calls Kimberly. In any case, telephone is on vibrate and she doesn't hear it, not at all like Ted, who comprehends that young lady is up to something. In the first part of the day, Kimberly awakens and understands that Ted has attached her to the bed. Terrified for her life, young lady concedes that Fred needed to dispose of him. Be that as it may, she experienced passionate feelings for and denied it. Kimberly likewise discusses how she utilizes a dating application, tracks down rich men and sends them to the following scene to suitable the cash for herself. Ted is stunned and concedes that he is the one who disposes of effectively available young ladies. The night Nancy died, Kimberly should be in her place. In any case, officer demolished everything. Understanding she's caught, Kimberly admits that she harmed Ted's morning meal 2 or 3 days prior and trying again later with his juice. Man drank it and liberates young lady to get the antitoxin. Understanding that they are the two hoodlums, Kimberly offers to cooperate. She will track down men, and Ted will dispose of them. Right at that point, Fred calls and couple choose to begin with him. Ted consents to Kimberly's proposition and ends Fred's life, however does the same to her since she attempted to dispose of him. Furthermore, here film closes. Much obliged to you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe for more such videos.